Hi everyone, this is Lori from the Crafting Auntie. Welcome back to my channel. I haven't been out here much, been having some back issues, so I've just been kind of crafting by myself, but I wanted to come out here and share a project that I'm working on that it was inspired by Margreth on Sevenplaza. During her 100-day project, she created a journal called Gunther. I fell in love with Gunther. And I had to make my own, of which I am naming Arthur. So the only issue I had is we do not have those 3 flap file folders here in the US. Apparently they're pretty common maybe in Europe, but definitely not here. So I had to come up with another plan. So this is what I've created so far, and I'll show you what I created it out of. I did some stenciling on it, as you can see, very similar to what she did, only using a different stencil. Did a lot of grunging, added this tape that I absolutely love that she used on the outside and inside of hers, and I did the same thing. That's 49 Market. It's a fabric tape, and it's just fabulous. So I want to show you what I used to create this. So what I used is an old Pendaflex folder. So if you have any of these you don't know what to do with, or you maybe thrown them out, grab them up and you can make this journal out of it. So the only thing you have to do is remove these metal pieces. Now this one's pretty easy to come out on one side. On the other side maybe a little tighter, but you can just lift up this flap right here and loosen it and get that out. So we'll just take them both out. So now we have this. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create my spine. So the spine here is about 1 inch. And then I am 5.5 by 8 3/4. This is a almost 12 inches, so it's 11 3/4. And you really don't have to cut anything yet. So the only thing I want to do is I want to create my spine. So here is my center here, and I need about a 1 inch spine. So with that being said, there are several score marks right here. And to get my 1 inch, I need to fold in on the second score mark here on both sides. So if you can see that, there's 1, then there's 2. And I'm going to fold in on that second one. And that's going to create our spine. And don't worry if you think this is too flimsy at this moment, because we are going to be reinforcing it. And I'll show you basically what I did. So now we have our 1 inch spine. So we've got that. Now, if you look at the sides of the file of this Pendaflex folders, there's 2 folds, 1 on each side. So it makes it simple. If we just fold that in, that makes our flap on the right side, and this one makes our flap on the left side. So now we've got our flaps. Now we have to do the bottom flap. So my journal ends up being 8 3/4 inches. I have 11 3/4 inches. So we're just going to fold up 3 inches. So I'm going to just make a little mark here and a little mark here. That's where I'm going to fold at. So I'm just going to go turn this over and then fold up this way first, just so I can see the marks. Where are we? There we go. Just so I can see the marks and get it started. And just carefully fold it over. Okay. Now I'll just turn it back this way and burnish it really well. So really, you don't need to do anything about the height. So now we've got basically our size right here. So now we need to work on our flaps. So the only thing I did was, first of all, I want to make sure that these bottom pockets that we're going to create, let me open up mine so you can see. So we're going to create these pockets, and I want to have this little flap here on both sides. So I'm going to leave a 1/2 inch on each side when I go to cut these. So in other words, if you can see right here, it's in just a little bit. So if I just cut this right on this line, then that's going to give, I'm going to have a 1/2 inch, and then I'll do the same thing on the other side. So I don't know if that's making any sense, but basically it's going to come in just a little bit. So what you're going to see is this. So when this comes up, you're going to have a little border here and a little bit here, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to just cut right down this fold right there. Okay, and then if you look, my flaps, there's about 1 inch. Actually, it's a little less than 1 inch. It's about 3/4 of an inch. So in that respect, I'm going to come up another 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to cut right to there. Just like that. So now I've got part of my bottom flap, and now I'm getting ready to create this side flap. So what I'm going to do is now make sure it's even, make a line, and I'm going to cut right off here. Just like that. Okay, so now we've got the start of the bottom part of our flap here. We've also got the start of the bottom part of our pocket here. So now here we're just going to cut right in the middle. So I'm just going to cut right here in the middle, and then we're going to cut across to 1/2 inch. So just about a 1/2 inch is right there, and miter it. And I'm going to miter the top. So you have that. That makes one of your flaps for your pocket. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Sorry, this is so big. And I'm going to come in, running out of room here, 1/2 inch. So right here. So I'm going to just cut in a 1/2 inch. And also miter this and this. And then we'll make our fold. Just like that. Okay, so there's the first pocket. And that will come up like this, and this comes over like this. And that is this right here. And then my pocket is up in here. So you've got this little bit of gap on both sides. If that makes any sense? Okay, now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Only on this side, we've got to cut out more of this because our spine is right here. So what we want to do is I'm going to cut right down the center, and we're going to take out these two areas that are folded here, and that creates the opening for the spine. So there's that. Now we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to cut over to that second fold, and that creates the first flap for the second pocket. So when it's up like this, you still have this gap here for your spine. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut across here. And I'm going to just eyeball this about 1/2 inch. Whoops. I need to fix that now. There. I almost cut it wrong. Okay. So I almost cut that wrong. So got to be careful. So we want to make sure that it looks like this. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come up about 3/8 of an inch. And we'll make this bottom flap. So, well, that's not right. Let's see. Gotta come back over here. Oh, 3/4 of an inch. Wrong measurement. Okay, 3/4 of an inch. Is that right? Let me just double check. It's actually 7/8. Okay, right here. And we're just going to cut across here. Just going to eyeball this and cut this off. Okay, now we have our pockets and we have the bottom part of our flaps. So now we've got this. Okay, now let's do the top part. So the top part comes down a little bit more. So you can see how the top part is. And again, you can do your own measurements. I just guesstimated all this. This is not anything that's, you know, concrete. You can do whatever you like. But on this one that I created, it's about 1.5 inches down. So I'm just going to measure 1.5 inches down. I'm going to mark here. I'm going to mark here. And then cut that. Like so. Now you can fold it over and do the other side. It makes it pretty easy that way. So we'll just cut it here and here. Now you've got your flaps. So now you've got your side flaps. You've got your bottom pockets. Side flap over, side flap over. We have our spine, and you have a construction of your journal. Now this is not very sturdy. So what I did is I used a heavier craft color cardstock, and I just used this as a template, and I added this cardstock on the inside here, on both flaps here and on the inside here. I did not do it on the pockets. It wasn't necessary for the pockets, but you do want this part to be pretty sturdy. In addition to that, like on Margreth's video, she did use a thicker piece of chipboard for the spine, in which I did as well. I did not take the cardstock all the way to the spine because this was going to be on here. But as a result, this is pretty sturdy. So then what I did is I followed pretty much kind of what she did. I used a stencil set. I didn't have the same stencil set, but I had this stencil set. And I used this stencil, and I used some of the frayed burlap and put some of this on here. I kind of wanted it to show up, but I didn't want it to be super, super dark, but I did want to see it. I liked some of the design that was on here, and so I just put it in different areas, and I did that. And then I also did grunge around all the edges inside and out with the ground espresso. Then I created my ID tag before I started the journal. I just was having fun with ID tags. So this is Arthur. Isn't he? It's kind of fun naming your journals when you have somebody in there. And Arthur is traveling with Rose, his wife, of which I made this one. My plan now is, so what I did is I did some decorating on the inside. Now this pocket this can turn, and then this can flip up. This is just a cigarette card that I put over and just tucked it in. Added just some vintage items along with some of the freebies that Margaret gave out on Gunther, and just cut those pieces and made this pocket here. Also cut this from another digital I had, made a pocket here so I can tuck things in just like that. And then this is a pocket as well. Tuck things in here. And I thought her idea of adding a little map was adorable, but I just took a digital, actually it wasn't a digital, it was a paper pad that has maps and graphs and ledgers and all kinds of stuff. So I took two of the same one and I just cut it, actually just folded it in half and then glued it down, and then I just made it into a trifold, adding this vintage bus ticket here and put a slot in here so I could pull it out easy. And then this is just a clock hand, and I thought that worked pretty good to have something on there like that. So let me give you a little closer look. Then I made these two envelopes, decorated them, and just added this on as decoration here. And on the front here, I made this into a pocket to add his ticket, and I just decorated this. I did do a video on making this ID tag when I made Rose right here. So there is a video there on my channel. You're welcome to go and take a look at. So I thought what I would do today is start to begin to put Rose on here. So Rose is going to go here. And on this side, I did make it very similar to what Margaret did. I added this little tie right here. And I would like to do similar, the same thing over here. But today, I just want to start working on this pocket. So I picked out a few things here. I've got this vintage card that I want to add on here. So let's just get started on that, and we'll get some decorating done. So I'm going to use ground espresso, and let's just go around the edges like that. I hope you guys try and create your own folder using the Pendaflex. It was the only thing I could come up with. I was sitting here just thinking, going, oh man, I really want to do that. How am I going to do it? And I know Margaret has a video where she uses various items like scrapbook paper, other folders and stuff. But I just, before I even knew that video existed, I thought, okay, I'm going to figure this out, and ran into the Pendaflex thing. So I thought, okay, I can do this. I'm just going to glue this down. I'm not creating a pocket or anything because I'll be having the pocket behind it. So let's just glue this on. And I don't want to glue my pocket yet until I finish. And then I have this cigarette card that I want to add here. And I also have this dial, which I want to add, and I'm trying to find the place. I want these two to show. I got a couple of brads here. So I'm thinking what I want to do is I want to put this on as a brad, and with a brad, I'm sorry. Put this on with a brad, and then I think I'll probably just glue this down. I love this train. My husband and I, we both have a hobby together, and that is G-scale trains. We have them in our home, and we just enjoy it very much. So I thought I would add that onto this. So let's see. I'm going to grab my punch, and let's just put a hole here. And then let's see. Let's put this, maybe have this right about there. So let's glue down our train. These are cool cigarette cards I got on a shop Etsy, on Etsy. And then let's mark where I really want these stamps to show. So let's just mark it right here, and we'll make a punch there. Hopefully this can fit. Yes. Okay. Then put this on. And because this is going to be a pocket, I do want to put some tape on the back. So I'm just going to give a little tape so nothing gets caught. Perfect. And then I think I have this little piece of map. I think I'm going to tear that right in the center. Not straight, kind of wonky. And then I'm going to add that right here. So let's ink that up. And glue that on there. I'm using art glitter glue. I mostly use art glitter glue. I like it because it holds and it keeps everything nice and secure. Now that's ready to go, but we can't put that on yet. So what I did is I cut another piece very similar to this one out of another piece of map, and I want to put that here as a pocket. And then look at those. This will come up like that. One thing I didn't tell you is you can go along and round all your corners. So let me go back a little bit to this. So on this, you can round all these corners however you want to. The other thing you'll have to do is just glue this back down on both sides. Then when you add your additional paper to make it stiffer, then that will be nice looking at the end. So yeah, I just use my corner rounder, and let's see. And I just do the rounding on all my corners. You don't have to. It's a preference, really. If you like them rounded, then do them rounded. This one's kind of tricky. Just fold it all in, and then you'll get the round corner. So we got round corner here, round corner here. I did all of my corners. So whatever you prefer, then that's what I would do. If you don't want rounded corners, don't do rounded corners. I just like the look of it. So I wanted to make sure I told you that. Okay, so let's go ahead and glue this down. I'm going to try and make it as close to the other side as possible, and I'm just going to glue on the sides and the bottom. And I have no idea what I'm putting in these pockets yet. I'll be making more things to go in this, so I imagine I'll be making tags or journal cards or something. So we'll glue that down. And then the other thing, I'm not going to do the same closure as I did over, actually I am going to do the same closure, but I'm going to do it a little different. So I'm not quite sure yet how that's going to come together, but I do want to go ahead and close up my pocket because that's not going to get in the way of what I do here. Even though this is glued down, and what I did is I put these brads on before I glued this on. This time I'm going to look for a piece of ephemera because I want to add something here. I'm going to add probably my same circles here, but a little differently on this side. I don't want them to look exactly the same. So let's just close this up like that and get this down, put in place. So now I've got both of my pockets. And I'll decide before I finish the flap on how I'm going to do my closure. So definitely I'm going to do, see, I have to move her over here in order to put my closure here. And then I want to use a little piece of some kind of vintage ephemera. And probably, I'm thinking of doing the same, but then again, I'm thinking of using this. I don't know if it would be, I think it might be strong enough, especially if there's a brad in there. Anyway, another video. I don't want to spend too awful long in here and have my back start hurting, unfortunately. But anyway, here's what we've done so far. So we've created a folder. And again, reinforce it with whatever heavy cardstock, whatever color you want. Just cut the pieces for the flaps here and in here. So you can just cut pieces and glue them on. That's all I did. And you can see that right here. So you can see it looks different. It's much thicker. So you can see the thickness. And you don't have to do these bottom pockets. So you're just going to be cutting a panel here, cutting a panel here, cutting a panel on the other side, both sides together. One more thing I want to mention that I failed to mention is you will want to do a little gusset here. So the only thing I did, if you see it here, right where this washi tape is I just did 1/4 of an inch. So if you use your scoreboard, let's just do that. So I don't forget about telling you this. And we'll just line this up as best as we can. And then it's just going to be 1/4 of an inch. So just make a little score on both sides. Whoops. 1/4 of an inch. And that gives you that little fold right there on both sides. So do it on both sides the same. And then you'll be able to, and again, this is if you like to put like a gusset, like say you want to put something behind like I did here. I did this, so I needed to have a little bit of room. So just that 1/4 of an inch gives me that room that I need. Again, you don't have to do it. I wanted to do it because I did want to put something underneath. I liked the way Margaret had done that. So you're just going to do it on both sides. 1/4 of an inch. And that way you've got the room. Just like that. Just make sure it's even. So now we've got our 1/4 of an inch on both sides. And that gives you that gap that you need. And that's it. I think I've covered everything. It was like really hard trying to remember everything I did, but I thought having my journal right next to me and be able to show you, then that would be helpful. So here we have our journal that you can create just from a Pendaflex. And here's what it'll look like once you get the spine in and reinforce it. Make your flaps and your pockets, and you're ready to go. I hope this was helpful. I'm sorry if it was kind of all over the map a little bit. I was trying to be careful to show you what I did, and then do just a little project inside it. Hopefully, I'll be able to do a few more videos with some more projects inside as we go through this. So you guys have a great day. I hope this will help you, and I'll see you next video. Bye.